All right, let's talk about SmackDown from August the 26th, 2021. I'm going to do the entire show. You can't do SmackDown in bits and pieces anymore due to Rampage, and my recording schedule would get too ridiculous. Also, I'm going to talk about NXT's new logo and the theme song. I'll do that probably near the end of the video. So, we're going to talk about quite a bit in this situation. Yeah. Alright, so I lost my notes. Alright, so note 1, Pat McAfee has COVID, so best of luck to him. Hopefully he gets over it. He's also double vaccinated, so that should tell you something. In any event, we got our good buddy Kevin Owens is here, and Corey Graves is here. So that was cool. We got 2 color commentators to cover up for Pat McAfee, and they both did okay, I guess. So Becky Lynch comes out there, big reaction. And she's going to talk about winning the SmackDown Women's Championship. And that, cut through some of the fat. The only thing she really said was that, you know, giving up the Raw title was like giving up a part of her identity. And if you thought she was dangerous before, that now she's not fighting for herself anymore. She's going to be especially dangerous now. Then she says that a lot of people thought that what she did was underhanded. And she said she wanted to apologize. ... Apologize for nothing. Then she said she'd been preparing for this opportunity or that opportunity every day, thinking about it her whole career, that in this business, you have to take every opportunity you can. It's led Bianca Belair to come out there. She also got a pretty good reaction. She was also smiling and dancing, which I absolutely cannot stand. It's when people have every reason in the world to be angry and they're not. It's like, it's so inhuman. It is so not realistic. People, like when you watch TV and you watch, you know, movies and stuff like that, you get more involved if that character goes through the things that you would go through. Like one of my least favorite movies of all time, you know, was this movie called The Best Man. It's a horrible film. It is about this movie where this guy, you know, who fucks around with his girlfriend a lot, finds out that his girlfriend fucked around on him, but with his friend, and the guy is his best friend at his wedding. And then, you know, spoiler alert for like a 20-year-old movie, but he marries the woman anyway, looking into her eyes, still thinking about his best friend fucking her. And I say that this is the stupidest movie in the world because it's not realistic. You know, like up to a certain point, it is very realistic. You know, like when he finds out about it, and he wants to kill him and throw him over the barricade. Like, that makes sense. You can feel that rage because you also feel that rage. You know, that's how that you can identify with that. You know, you can identify with, when you can identify with a character and what they're going through, that brings you into the story. WWE routinely has these characters acting in ways that are not human. It is absolutely awful that they do that. There is no way she should have came down to the ring dancing and swinging her hair as if everything was A-okay. No, everything is not A-okay. Alright? Now, I'm not saying she has to be fuming and, you know, ready to tip over the ring. But you shouldn't come out there like you won. Okay? Don't come out there as if you had won. It's so annoying. And WWE does not just to her, but to everybody. It's what Finn Balor complained about. It's that smiling trap. Everybody has to fucking smile all the time. It's not necessary. Put people in the moment that you want the fans to have. If you want the fans to feel like she's been cheated, she should feel like she's been cheated. That way we can identify with that. It's common goddamn sense. Come on, bro. In any event, Bianca Belair comes in there. She says that she's not going to make any excuses because excuses ain't her style, which I'm very glad that they did. They did around the whining. They just basically said, okay, I lost. Now let's move on. And says that she's not okay with what happened. And since I accepted your challenge at the last minute, maybe you should accept mine. And Becky Lynch, of course, was like, This let Zelina Vega, Carmella, Liv Morgan to come out there, each one of them to talk about, you know, their contention for the title. I have no idea why Carmella and Zelina Vega are out there. Now, I do know why they were out there. You know, I saw a lot of people complaining like Zelina Vega's 0-7 and Carmella's had 100 title shots. Why are they out there? Well, because they have no heels on SmackDown. They're the only two heels. Sasha is out. Bayley is out. You don't have any other heels. So it has to be Carmella and Zelina Vega. You know, or Tamina. You know, I think she's the only, well, Tamina and Natalya. So you have, then they're the tag team champions. So you really only have these two as the heels in the SmackDown locker room, the women's locker room, which of course causes its own problems. Becky Lynch ended up telling Bianca Belair no, and then a fight ensued, which lead us to the first match. Fatal 4-way match, elimination style, Bianca Belair versus Carmella versus Zelina Vega versus Liv Morgan. So Zelina Vega catches a KOD, probably her 5th KOD this month. Liv Morgan eliminates Carmella. Then there's a nice back and forth and actually a very impressive showing by Liv Morgan, but she also catches a KOD. And Bianca Belair is now the #1 contender for the women's championship. They did it in 1 week. They didn't even build up to it and say, okay, well, you know, if you win the match next week, you become the #1 contender. They just say, you know what, just go straight to this #1 contender thing right now. I did kind of play around with the idea that maybe we should have Becky screw her out of this. And I know, yes, it would have caused Bianca to lose again, twice in 1 week. But I think there's a story there about Becky trying to avoid Bianca Belair. And I think that probably would have been sweet. Like, you know, because she's fresh off of her maternity leave. She wants to enjoy her title run. She thinks she can beat a young upstart like Liv Morgan. She can beat her. But, you know, unsure about Bianca Belair. So she's going to try to avoid her. At least that's what I was thinking. But Bianca winning is also good. It's not a problem. Liv was impressive. And, of course, I was disappointed that there was no Toni Storm. There is never any Toni Storm on this show. And it's quite frankly, it's depressing. Quite frankly, it is depressing. So Kayla Braxton is out there messing around with Paul Heyman. She asked him, where does he stand? And he said he stands with his tribal chief. Then he tries to go into Roman's locker room, finds out the door is locked, so he has to wait outside. We go to commercial, we come back, the Usos come out, just to inform him that Big Uso ain't there. Then they begin to ask some very suspicious questions of our friend Paul Heyman. They asked Paul if he knew Brock was going to be there. Paul said, of course not. He didn't know Brock was going to be there. So then they asked him, well, why would you send us away if you didn't know? He said, well, I didn't do that. Those were Roman Reigns' desires. I didn't send you guys from ringside. Roman did that. He promised that he would not help destroy what he helped to build. And that, you know, this isn't fair. You know, it's not fair to Paul. You got to be fair to Paul. He's always been loyal. He's always been a good guy. He's good guy, Paul. So then later on, Roman shows up, and Paul is waiting outside, very like a puppy dog, just waiting. And Roman's like, you know, what are you waiting for? What are you doing? And then, of course, waiting for you, my tribal chief. He's like that one-legged chick from Coming to America. Whatever it is you like. So Roman's like, I gotta open my own doors. So no way, my tribal chief. He opens the door for him, and then he says, "You coming in?" He's like, yes, my tribal chief. I think I should take a pause right here for a moment to talk about the Bloodline shirt. The Bloodline shirt is dope. It's probably the dopest wrestling shirt I've seen in a long time. I really like that shirt, man. It's raw. You know, it's very good. It makes me want to actually buy a wrestling shirt. I probably will never buy a wrestling shirt because I think I kind of outgrown that concept. And I never really did. That's another thing, like, people don't understand how big of a wrestling fan I am, but I don't own a lot of wrestling merchandise. Like, I've never been a t-shirt guy. I've never been a guy to go to a lot of shows. You know, I actually have only been to very few shows. You know, I'm more of a collector. Like, I collected the DVDs, I collected trading cards, and that was really about it. And I just watch it a lot in my spare time. But like super fan that's like decked out in Cena gear, or, you know, even as a kid I was never really that into it. But this does make me want to buy a wrestling shirt. So let's go to the end of the show. Roman is backstage with Paul and the Usos. They're about to go have the Bloodline celebration. Paul is trying to give Roman the title. Roman is like, what is going on here? Why are you trying to give me the title? And he's like, well, it's a family celebration. And Roman tells Paul, you are family. And it touches Paul, just touches him, got him all warm and fuzzy. Warm and fuzzy as hell. So they go out there and they celebrate. Paul introduces the Usos, introduces Roman as introduces the Usos as the undisputed tag team champions. I'm pretty sure RK Bro can dispute. Also pretty sure MSK can dispute. WWE does not have undisputed anything. In any event, Finn Balor comes out there. Finn Balor ain't forgot about John Cena, so he's going to find him in his due time. Going to get his hands on John Cena. Then he says that, all these guys are talking about the Universal title. Brock's back. Cena took my spot. Edge, Seth Rollins. Everybody wants the title. And I don't trust anybody on this brand anymore. So skip Extreme Rules. I want to fight you next week. Which I thought was a great line. And Roman is not really down with the idea. And then Finn Balor jumps him. Boom, hits him. Of course, this leads to the Usos beating them up. And here comes the Street Profits. So the Street Profits and Finn Balor bump the Bloodline. Bloodline is getting their asses kicked. So Roman flees. And he just basically watches the Usos as they get beat up to end the show. And you know what? This was pretty solid. I think we've been a little overdue for the Usos and the Street Profits and the tag team feud. I don't believe you should do Finn Balor and Roman on TV. I think you should do it on SmackDown. I do. I think you need to do it on SmackDown. But I don't... Where do you do Brock? I think you do Brock probably in Crown Jewel. I think you do Brock Roman at Crown Jewel. And then you don't give a pure finish. Now, where do I think we're going with this Paul Heyman thing? Now, from a character perspective, knowing Roman Reigns, he's obviously manipulating Paul now. He's making Paul feel guilty. Paul feels guilty about the whole Brock thing and his years upon years of service to Brock Lesnar. And now Paul wants to try to prove that he's in Roman's corner. But Roman's going to test it. He's going to keep pushing buttons. Of course, he sent the Usos to ask all these questions. And of course, he's going to overanalyze the answers and probably say, what do you mean we? We built this. No, what? And he's going to make Paul take no credit and say, no, I meant you built this. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I did consider that this might be a double cross and that maybe Paul is going to be on the side of Brock Lesnar. Or that Brock may have to save Paul from Roman Reigns and the Usos were going to kick his ass. That's quite the idea. But I think Heyman has to stay the heel. So I'm really interested in where we're going with this whole thing. But I'm glad that the Usos and Roman are suspicious of Paul Heyman. And that he might be up to no good. Because Paul Heyman has a history of double-crossing people that he really care for. Remember, he double-crossed CM Punk, and I don't think, was that ever fully explained, why he double-crossed CM Punk? I don't know. At least, maybe it's just something I'm not thinking about. But, I don't know if that was fully explained or not. In any event, Paul Heyman has a history of double-crossing his guys. He double-crossed Brock before, too. Remember, he double-crossed Brock with Big Show. I think he also double-crossed Big Show too, didn't he? With somebody else. Or he also double-crossed Rob Van Dam with Big Show. That's what I was thinking of. So Paul Heyman has a history of getting guys to a certain level of success and then jumping shit with somebody else. This is part of Paul Heyman's, manipulative character that, he always wants to stay on top. And always looking to trade in for his next meal ticket. And Brock's been his meal ticket for a long time. And for the first time, Roman's in a situation where he could be betrayed, but he needs to keep the upper hand. And needing to keep the upper hand, he's going to really put a lot of pressure on Paul Heyman. Which is the whole Roman Reigns thing, is applying pressure to characters. Which is why I'm so sad that the Usos and their character development has pretty much gone out the window. Because there's a lot to learn from this. And a lot they could have added to this story if they had been the same characters they were 6 months ago. You know, they could have gotten a lot longer. We could have pulled more out of this. You know, we could have pulled more out of this. But I'm really enjoying the Roman Reigns Heyman stuff. It's really interesting. All right, so the second match of the night was Chad Gable versus Cesaro, which ended by disqualification as Otis got involved and destroyed Cesaro. I saw a lot of people was very disappointed that this match not only did not get much time, but it also ended disqualification. I'll say what I always say when it comes to WWE. They care more about heat than they do about wrestling. They care more about stories than they do about wrestling. So to them, having 100 disqualifications on the same show doesn't mean anything. They don't care. Plus, in this situation, who really wants to watch 15 minutes of a cold match between Chad Gable and Cesaro? Even if it is going to be good, and I have no doubt that it would be, that's what main event exists for. Main event is this so these guys can have 10 to 12 minute cold matches that, you know, that don't mean anything. You know, this is SmackDown TV. This is just to give us a taste to show that Cesaro is the next guy on Otis's list. And that's what they did. They did it successfully. So now, you know, Cesaro, who really doesn't even qualify as a gatekeeper, considering he hasn't won a title in 9 goddamn years. He was a United States champion in, what, 2011? 2012, maybe? Maybe in 2010? I don't remember. But he hasn't won a singles title in forever. He has very little singles credibility outside of, you know, his matches with Roman and stuff. But Otis is a good opponent. My question is, where do you go with Otis? Like, as long as Roman is a heel and he's the top guy, you can't put Otis on top. So, what do? You know, what's the ceiling for Otis? And the best option is, you know, he becomes a contender for the Intercontinental Championship. But you have a lot of those guys, too, coming up. A lot of contenders for the Intercontinental title. But I'm very interested in what Otis and Cesaro going on. Happy Corbin debuts. So, so I'm not going to do a whole thing on this. There's a couple of things that you need to recognize. Bum-ass Baron Corbin goes to Las Vegas. He loses the Money in the Bank after he got beat up. Well, he didn't lose it. It wasn't really his. He got beat up and it got taken away from him. He then takes his winnings or his earnings from that match, and he goes to the tables. And he starts playing blackjack at the tables. And he actually starts to win. And now he's cleaned himself up. He goes to the presidential suite. He's got chicks now. You know, he spent a week in Las Vegas. Lady Luck sat upon his shoulders, and now he is Happy Corbin, and nothing you can say or do is going to upset him. And he's got a Ferrari. He's eating Wagyu beef. He's got a new theme song. He got a theme song now. It's a horrible theme song too. I think it's bad on purpose. You know, he's got great gear as far as a suit with his hat now. He's he's bounced back. He has bounced back. Our boy is back. Happy Corbin, he is back. Back in the saddle. But pay attention to the character. Again, I'll say WWE does things that sometimes doesn't make much sense, but the characters are remarkably consistent. What is he doing? He's overspending. Again, right? Like, they told you it's like how he got, you know, he had all this money when he was the king, and he overspent. And then when he lost the crown, he became super broke. Now he's got that money again. He's out buying fancy cars, and he's got, you know, fancy suits. He's got fancy shoes. And now he's offering to buy the Money in the Bank briefcase for $100,000 from Big E. He's just throwing money around. So I'm telling you, this is not going to last very long. This ain't going to last long. I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3 months of happy Corbin, and he's gonna end up broke as fuck again. And I just, I can't wait for it. Of course, you know, the inner booker and everybody wants him and LA Knight or Ted DiBiase or Cameron Grimes to do like this epic crossover of guys who are filthy fucking rich and have like a Money Inc. stable. That would be fucking cool. Like, everybody got rich off something different. So it'd be like Cameron Grimes, who got rich off stocks, Baron Corbin, who got rich off gambling, LA Knight, who got rich off of, I don't know, what would we say? What would we say? What was something? Maybe tech. Maybe it's like he a tech billionaire or something like that. Like, he created some LA Knight Industries or something like that. And that's how he made his money. And of course, you have the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, who is like old money. You know, like, he's like a Rockefeller. He's just so much money, he doesn't know what it's like to never have it. While all these other guys are like nouveau riche. Like, that would be so much fun. But of course, they don't believe in doing stuff like that. Of course, Big E is not going to sell his Money in the Bank briefcase. He threatened to beat up Happy Corbin. To which Corbin just left the ring smiling and saying, you know, but I did like that he said that they talking about luck. And luck is is part of this new gimmick now. And it's actually been part of Baron Corbin's gimmick for a little while, since the whole King of the Ring thing. Since this whole thing started, it's all been Corbin is down on his luck. So now luck, he's pushing it over to Big E. Like, you know, I had bad luck when I was the king, when I had Money in the Bank and I lost. It could happen to you too. You're gonna wish you had $100,000 and not a stupid briefcase when you cash in that Money in the Bank and lose. You know, basically saying it's a gamble for Big E. You got a bird in the hand, but you want 2 in the bush. You know, this is a bird in hand. You want 2 in the bush. So I like this. Of course, I love when wrestlers are tempted to do things that they wouldn't normally do, because temptation is, again, another human thing. There's always people looking to get over on you or lead you to believe things that are not necessarily true. And it's like the one thing that, if you look in the Bible, is, you know, one of my favorite things is the whispers. The idea of influencing somebody by playing into things that they, offering them something that they really want. Now, of course, we haven't seen that the character of Big E is something by somebody that could be manipulated by money. We haven't seen that yet. So there was no reason to believe he actually would sell it. But it's an interesting direction to go in. You know, now we're going to have to think about it. Is Corbin going to purposely screw Big E out of his Money in the Bank briefcase? Or is he going to up his price and say $200K? Is he going to start saying $300K? You know, what is he going to do? But I'm very, very interested in the downfall of Happy Corbin. Just as excited as I am of seeing him rich and excited, this can't last forever. You know, he's going to have to go bankrupt eventually. And I think that the bankrupt character will actually come faster because he's got his money through gambling. So him having like a gambling addiction and it costing him money. And that's what I love about SmackDown. Like, SmackDown has not been scared about going to the darker places. Like when they went into the whole Jeff Hardy alcoholism thing. You know, they haven't been, now they're going into Baron Corbin and his, you know, I guess, a gambling addiction that they're going to go into with him. Or some type of story that involves gambling, intense gambling. So, I'm very interested. I'm very, very, very interested in where we're going here. Alright, so the next segment is Seth Rollins and Edge. Edge talked about how satisfying SummerSlam was, but he had to go to the dark place and it infected him. It infected him at home too. But, you know, now he wants to get back in the ring with Roman Reigns and get back to chasing the Universal title. And basically he's moved on. You know, he beat Seth Rollins, he's moved on. But Seth Rollins, of course, has not moved on. We get to hear a word from Seth, who congratulated Edge, and they said that he taught, you know, the loss taught him about himself. And now he has a new respect for Edge, and he admires Edge. And he admires Edge's life. That maybe if he wants to be as successful as Edge, he needs to be more like Edge. And there's this, of course, this picture of Seth Rollins and this emotionless smile, him just staring at the camera, grinning. It's like something out of The Shining. It is like when you see people smiling and they don't mean it, it's one of the creepiest things in the world. It is another one of those inhuman things. It makes your skin crawl. It's not just a fake, phony smile. It might be genuine, but there's nothing behind it. And that's really what we got going on here with Seth Rollins. Is he's a complete nut at this point. You know, like the idea of Seth Rollins being like this narcissist that is, you know, obsessed with himself and, you know, see my vision, I am your Messiah. Now he's become obsessed with Edge. And he's saying to himself, like, and now he seems to be going down a dark path himself, saying that, you know, maybe I need to be more like you. So I did pitch the idea of Seth Rollins zombie killer. I pitched it on Twitter that maybe we should have Seth Rollins hunt Gangrel and put like a stake in his heart or something like that. And I mean like a porterhouse steak, not like a piece of plank, like a piece of wood. But, you know, a piece of wood would be cool too. Or having Seth Rollins revert back to his, you know, previous state of being like blonde streak Seth Rollins in the Shield. And saying like, you want to go back, you want to dig back into who you were, or dig back into who I am. That's it. Or we're going to have Seth Rollins who are going to start mimicking Edge. And I'm really interested in where we go in here with this. Because if he's going to start doing like mirroring Edge and like trying to steal his entrance and, you know, harassing his wife and all that kind of stuff, I'm all for it. Like I'm all for that good human shit. As long as we get good human reactions out of it, I'm all for that good human shit. So this is very fun. The next match, Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura defeat the Dirty Dogs. During this match, we had Apollo Crews, who talked about, my ancestors are screaming, and everybody in the village is hiding their face in shame. My Intercontinental Championship. I'm like, so basically he wants a rematch. Interesting point. The dirt sheet said that Shinsuke Nakamura signed a contract extension, to which Nakamura was just like, when? And had like 17 question marks. So they, of course, took it down, which I thought was hilarious. Okay, so Naomi is back on SmackDown now and is ready to do her thing. She's ready to glow up SmackDown. And she gets completely and totally dismissed by Sonya Deville, who says, look, I didn't even know you were supposed to be here. And Naomi's like, okay, I want to have a match. And she's like, well, I didn't. Look, we'll talk about it some other time. And Naomi is like, huh? Like, you know, she tried to run down her resume, and Sonya Deville is texting, not paying any attention. I'm like, okay, all right. This is a good storyline for Naomi. Now, it's a good storyline because it's real. And what I mean by that is it's real in terms of people not giving Naomi respect or giving her time. They basically are just ignoring her. You know, she's there. She wants to do her thing. She feels like she's back at home. But everybody's just kind of like, yeah, Naomi, yeah, whatever. You know, I didn't know you were supposed to be here. I don't care enough to pay attention to you, where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. That's why we didn't have a match for you. But maybe next week. Maybe we'll have a match for you next week. And Naomi was disappointed, of course. So I'm thinking this is going to lead... Of course, Sonya Deville is already the heel. I think this is going to lead to a Naomi heel turn. And I think it should. Will Naomi join the Bloodline? Some people have asked that question 100 times. Like, why can't she join the Bloodline? I don't think there's a problem that she can't. It's the problem of what is she going to do in it. When you have... If Bianca Belair was still the champion, yes, I would say she should join the Bloodline. Because then there would have been a spot open for a top heel. But now that you're going to And some people seem to believe that it's impossible to turn Becky Lynch into a heel, which is not impossible at all. There's only really like 3 or 4 people who really can ever work heel. One is Ricky Dragon Steamboat. Nobody will ever boo him. Jeff Hardy was like Rey Mysterio can never work heel. I know he turned heel in WCW, but did it really work? Did Rey Mysterio get a lot of heat as a heel? No. He's smaller than everybody. He's never going to get heat that way. Everybody's going to feel bad for him every time something bad happens to him. So no, that's never going to work. So Ricky Steamboat, Rey Mysterio, and to be quite honest, Jeff Hardy. I know they played with it in TNA of Jeff Hardy being a heel, but was it really any good? No, not really. Those 3 guys never really should be heels. Now Naomi is somebody I think you can turn. I think you can get away with turning Naomi. You might have to change her theme song and all that, her whole gimmick, but I think you can get away with turning her heel. Just like I think you can get away with turning Becky heel. And I think turning Becky and Naomi is fine. The problem is you only got one top face, which is Bianca Belair. So if you turn Naomi, who is she going to fight? You don't use Toni Storm. You got Tegan Nox and Shotzi in the tag team division. Who is she going to fight? So I'm guessing they're going to keep her as a babyface, maybe as an underdog babyface or something like that for a little while. But the story would have been so much better if Becky had not shown up, and therefore she could have turned heel on Bianca Belair and basically been the top female heel on the SmackDown roster. At least an attempt to be the top female heel on SmackDown roster. But we'll see where it goes. So Rey Mysterio, the Mysterios, I think this is the last piece. The Mysterios are not breaking up, but Rey wants Dominic to be his own man. He wants him to go out there and prove himself by himself. And so he says, hey, I got you a match. I got you booked in this match, but I don't know who your opponent is, and so therefore you don't either. But if you focus and stay determined, you can win. Dominic, of course, believes in himself, believes in his dad, goes out there and has this match, and his opponent, which everybody thought was going to be Adam Cole, baby, ended up being Sami Zayn. And I think this was a better opponent, if we're being honest, because Sami Zayn can teach him a lot. And Sami Zayn is very crafty. And that's something that a character like Dominic Mysterio needs as an opponent. He doesn't need somebody that's going to go in there and try to steamroll him or out wrestle him. He needs to wrestle people who are very crafty, who are very slick, who have far more experience than he is, that can embarrass him a little bit, that could take advantage of different things that he can and cannot do, and that has seen everything he can do before. So when you had the 619 spot when Sami Zayn pulled down the rope, I legit wrote down that he botched the 619 because I honestly didn't see it. That's how slick it was. And even though commentary called it, I still thought, like, okay, maybe they're just trying to cover it up. And then they showed the replay, and I was like, oh, no, that was intentional. He intentionally pulled the rope down. So that was very, very slick. Also, the finish was very slick, too, where you had Dominic finally hit the 619. He's about to hit the frog splash. Sami Zayn rolled to the other side of the ring. Dominic gets down, but he's in a hurry. So he runs across the ring, gets caught in a T-bone suplex over the head. He's in perfect position for the haluva kick, gets haluva kicked, and gets pinned. Sami Zayn was just too crafty for Dominic Mysterio. So Dominic loses, and now he's pushing away from Rey because he's losing too much. He's frustrated. So now are we going to get Rey versus Dominic? I think it's too early for that, personally. And I think if you're going to do that, you have to do it at WrestleMania. I think you do a story where if it eventually, I think you need to have a correcting force when it comes to Dominic. I have routinely thought about Dominic having a girlfriend or somebody who whispers in his ear that he does not need Rey. And I keep thinking that that would be like the perfect way to, because it's the perfect thing to manipulate a young man, is to inject a woman into his life. And if you have like a young female like manager or something like that who keeps telling Dominic, like, you don't need him, you can do it yourself, you don't need your dad, you don't, and that's where Dominic starts getting the courage to be like, I don't need you, get out of my life, I don't want to be a tag team partner, you need me, and that kind of thing. That would be perfect. But it seems like we're just going to go with Dominic is frustrated because he keeps losing. And I'm just kind of like, okay, that works, I guess. But that's SmackDown. All right, so before we get out of here, let's talk about the NXT logo, the new NXT logo. It has a multicolored paint job, and it comes with a new theme song that is apparently written and performed by Wale. And let's just talk about this for a minute. The first thing I want to say is that, symbolically speaking, NXT, if this is the new logo, and it seems to be, you have taken NXT's identity. It's gone, right? Every other WWE brand is identified by one color. Raw, red. SmackDown, blue. 205 Live, purple. Right? Main Event is a combination of red and blue. Right? Now you're going to have this multicolored NXT. And yes, I agree that, you know, it's okay to have various colors. But NXT was known as the black and gold brand, or the gold and black brand, however they wanted to go with it. That was the identity of NXT. When you change the color, you change the identity of the brand. So now we have no idea what this NXT means, and whether this NXT has any connection to the previous one. And I'm saying at this point, if you're going to change the logo to that degree, you probably need to change the belts too. You know, like, you probably need to change the belts too. You know, and I know what they're going to do as far as, you know, they said basically it's going to go in there and turn the lights on and change the presentation of NXT. Want to make it brighter, more vibrant, make it more hip. That's why they have like rappers and stuff doing the song now. Okay, I can respect everything that they're doing. The problem is, of course, that they stripped away NXT's identity. Now, my personal thoughts on the logo is that it's too close to what Dynamite is doing. I mean, Dynamite already doing paint, you know, and I get it that, you know, you kind of want to do an in living color style paint job, and maybe in the paint job is symbolic too. You know, paint is symbolic for, you know, not just, it's symbolic for art, but also in renovations. People always constantly painting their kitchen or painting their living rooms to give things a fresh feel. So that's really where you're going with the paint idea, is to give it a fresh coat of paint, that it looks different, it feels different. But I didn't expect it to look so different. A lot of people have said that it was childish, that it looks like it's, you know, Nickelodeon almost. And I can see that. I can see that, you know, because of the splat. And again, that's another paint themed show, is Nickelodeon. But until I see the entire presentation, I won't go that far and say it's childish. But I will say that I understand that position. It's just weird, you know. It's a weird thing. Personally, I don't like it because I think it's too close to what Dynamite is. I also hate change. I also think that it rips out the identity of NXT, and that NXT should be its own entity, and it should not be used this way. That it had its own identity as the black and gold brand. Why change that? Like, why did that need to change? I get wanting to turn the lights on, make everything brighter, but I don't see why changing its color scheme needed to happen. I mean, SmackDown's been the same color scheme for 20 years. You know, 21 years. Raw for almost 30. You know, I think that NXT could have lasted a little bit longer as the black and gold brand. That's just me. But let me know what you guys think of SmackDown and the NXT logo. Share your thoughts in the comment section below, please. Also, hit the like button. If you got this far, hit the like button. Also, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. I see people subscribing that I'm saying to myself, they weren't subscribed. What is going on here? Also, leave a comment, even if it's just a number, like 1, 2, 3, or whatever, just for the algorithm. If you don't have anything to say, just press 1 or whatever, and I'll respond 2, just so we can bump this thing up to the algorithm. Like this like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel if you can. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.